What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Vegas Nation First and 10, your bi-weekly go-to for Raider news and analysis and game commentary and game summary. And stop us if you've heard this before, but the Raiders lost a football game today, 29-19 to the Denver Broncos. It's the Raiders' seventh straight loss. They are now 2-9 in the season. We'll get into all the gory details, but Adam Hill, right off the top of the rope, Gardner Minshew goes down with a broken collarbone. He's done for the season. That's it for Gardner Minshew. I don't know who the heck's going to play quarterback for them on a short week Friday against the Kansas City Chiefs, but it just goes from bad to worse for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, obviously an unfortunate situation for the Raiders toward the end of the game, and a spot where they actually had a chance. They were down by 7. They have the ball. You need a long drive, but they've been moving the ball pretty well throughout the game. And if you're able to go down and score a touchdown, you can tie the game. Instead, Gardner Minshew gets hurt. Desmond Ridder comes in and fumbles 2 plays later, and it's all over. And it's, as you said, a familiar story. A close game, down to the wire, have a chance, don't come through. And it's a lot of the same things going wrong. A bad interception earlier. They had a very inefficient time in the red zone where they were able to get down there 5 times, only score 1 touchdown.
Right.
A lot of the same things that have gone wrong, went wrong again. Can't run the ball. Stop running the ball when they fall behind.
Right.
All of those things are the case. And as you said, who's going to play quarterback now? Gardner Minshew down. Maybe Aiden O'Connell's healthy. Desmond Ridder didn't look great. He had a drive at the end. They can't finish it. And maybe A.J. Cole plays quarterback. He's one for one as a passer. We saw that today. 2 for 2 going back to college. He threw 1 pass in college, and that was completed as well. So I don't know. Maybe he gets
Would
a
you
shot.
pull a Baker Mayfield right now, like the Rams did a couple of years ago, and just say, Daniel Jones, be our starter quarterback?
I mean, potentially, that's fine. I mean, the problem is that's probably your best chance to win games, which is not something
Right.
you want to do. So, I don't think so.
Define they.
Yeah, and I don't know that, from what we've heard about Daniel Jones, he wants to go to a place where they're a contender for the rest of the season. It also sounds like he might go to a practice squad somewhere because he doesn't necessarily want to play right now. He wants to go to a place where if somebody needs him down the stretch, they can sign him off a practice squad. I think there's a lot of moving pieces, and we'll find out, obviously, tomorrow when he clears waivers what exactly he wants to do. But I think the Raiders should probably be interested. I mean, I thought they should be anyway before this. And again, I don't believe Daniel Jones is the savior. I don't think he's the quarterback of the future, any of those things. But he's somebody who has talent, who has ability, who would be the best quarterback on the roster right now. Why not give him a shot, see what he's got? Maybe he's your backup for next year. I'm sure he doesn't want to sign to be he's going to want to be a starter somewhere. Or maybe if you're drafting a quarterback, he's a guy that can come in, start the first few weeks while you get the rookie ready. Who knows? But you got to try something. Like every chance you have to potentially add a quarterback to the roster is probably something you should explore.
Yeah, and it was so interesting to me because I can only imagine that there's some people in this organization right now who were watching this game, another loss, obviously. Adam and I have been talking about this quite a bit. The silver linings in these losses that potentially pushes the Raiders a step closer to getting a young quarterback, maybe a quarterback that they can build around. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, whoever it is that you have your eye on, if you believe that those are the 2 best quarterback prospects in this draft. Losses like this, which pushed the Raiders to number 3, thanks to a whole bunch of things that happened
Tennessee
today.
Won and Cleveland won.
Tennessee and Cleveland winning, exactly. All of a sudden, the Raiders are at number 3, just behind the New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's starting to get a little bit closer. And why this game, to me, was so, it was blatantly obvious, almost right up in their face, what a young quarterback can potentially do for a franchise. Because look at Bo Nix and making the plays that he was making, and the Raiders threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. The young kid, even though he's not the youngest of rookies, but he is a first-year NFL quarterback, and he sat back there or ran around back there. But the bottom line is he made a bunch of big plays for the Denver Broncos today. And there's a lot of reasons why the Broncos are 7-5 right now, and if the season were to end today, they would be in the playoffs. But you can't underestimate or understate what a difference Bo Nix has made, along with Sean Payton and the talent that he has around him. But the difference that he has made as the Broncos starting quarterback to all of a sudden get this thing pointed in the right direction and maybe create some hope in Denver. That was staring the Raiders right in the face And I'm sure there's some people in the organization who are thinking, when are we going to get our quarterback like that? Well, they may have taken a step closer to that today.
Yeah, potentially that's the case. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be said about Bo Nix, but you're right. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. They've got a couple more years under team control with a very, very cheap contract. That's what you want. That's what you want to build around.
But he's also good. That's the thing that I'm always.
He's okay.
He's playing well. He's playing better than I expected, and he was making big time plays out there.
I would also say for those that are out there that are like, oh, if Bo Nix would have got drafted to the Raiders don't have the same supporting cast that the Broncos do right now.
I completely
They don't have
agree.
the same coaching staff that the Broncos do right now.
Completely agree.
And you might be looking at Bo Nix as a disaster if he played for the Raiders. Very possible.
Yeah, I think he would be showing enough that it would. Again, and here's the thing: I still think that he was drafted as the sixth quarterback. That was justified because we don't know what Michael Penix is capable of doing or what J.J. McCarthy at this point are doing. Those are two quarterbacks that were taken beyond the top three quarterbacks who are doing well: Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May. Right behind them, or soon after them, was Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, Michael Penix to the Falcons, and Bo Nix at number 12 to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, I mean, it looks good for Bo Nix right now in the Broncos, but and maybe some people are going, why wasn't he drafted higher? Well, we don't know what Michael Penix, and I thought Michael Penix was the better quarterback, and I think J.J. McCarthy has more potential at 21 years old compared to, 24 years old, 23, 24 years old.
Almost 25, I think.
But the point being is that even just the hope that it creates and the positivity that it creates, let alone the fact that he is playing pretty good, darn good football, and that's a surprise to me. How it changes the trajectory potentially of your franchise, and it's been long overdue for the Raiders to create that kind of hope amongst their fan base with a good young quarterback to build around.
Yeah, and the Raiders are hoping for hope. I mean, that's where they're at right now. Every team has hope, I suppose, and every fan base has hope, and there's still some people out there. Right now, you don't even have the optimism of like, who is next? What is next out there? Now, obviously, the draft pick is the golden goose there that you're trying to pursue and hope that draft pick turns into something. But also, I guess it is throwing cold water on it, but I'll say you're not always going to get it right. The guy is not always going to be the right guy. You could, and I like J.J. McCarthy too. I don't necessarily love him as a pro long term, but as somebody from Ann Arbor, appreciate what he did in college and think he's got a lot of ability. But he also got hurt in preseason, so like that could happen to the Raiders too. So I don't, you can't just sit there and say, okay, you're going to draft a quarterback and everything's going to be fine. But that is kind of the hope that's out there of like, hey, if you get a good enough draft pick, that is going to be the potential that you have available.
Right, and there is, and I think to add to that point, there is recent history. And while there is recent history of failures, there's also recent history, and I'm talking the last 2 years of Bo Nix being a part of that recent history of young quarterbacks who have come in to what looked to be really bad situations, and all of a sudden the Houston Texans are winning their division and going to the playoffs. All of a sudden Washington, even though they took a terrible loss to the Dallas Cowboys today, some special teams, just a fiasco over there in the nation's capital denies them, what would have been a big win for them. But Joe Burrow going to the Cincinnati Bengals. We've talked about these: Justin Herbert in San Diego, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. From guys that have taken over pretty good situations and made it even better, to guys that took over terrible situations, and all of a sudden you look up and now they're annually competing for playoff spots. To me, as much as it is a crapshoot, as much as it is non-guaranteed, there's too much success of these young quarterbacks who have come in, and if you do get it right, and all of a sudden the whole trajectory of your franchise gets turned.
Yeah, and that's obviously what the Raiders are hoping for at this point. And it's important for that, along those lines, to make sure you do lose at some point the rest of the season, because as much as I think it's tough for fans to sit there and look at game after game of losing and losing, and it's tough for the players and I think the fans are on board.
Some. I think
we saw it last year. They should have
more.
been last year, and we saw the celebrations when they were winning games at the end of the year, which I sat here on this podcast and said, what are you celebrating?
He did.
Why are you celebrating this?
Right.
And now I think there are still fans.
In that case,
you hear when they score touchdowns in the game and fans start cheering, and I'm like, why are you cheering?
Well, I mean, you can't knock that. And look, not every fan is as dialed in. Some people are here just for the the game, the fellowship with their friends, and want to see a good game and want to see their team win. And then they go home and
to see their Broncos.
And to see their Broncos. A lot of orange and whatever shade of blue the Broncos were wearing today. Certainly a lot of that. And look, to the Broncos' credit, they after losing 8 straight to the Raiders, they swept the season series this year. By the way, the Raiders are 0-for in the AFC West right now, and I know the great Ed Graney is writing this this column today for tomorrow. When you start looking at the fact that if you're the Raiders, if you're Mark Davis, right, and you start looking at the prospects over the next few years of Antonio Pierce and right now an extremely uncertain quarterback situation, you look in Los Angeles and Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. You look in Kansas City and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That goes without, enough said. All of a sudden, you look at Sean Payton and potentially his Drew Brees and Bo Nix. I'm not putting that on him, but how comfortable can you possibly be knowing that you have to, as an organization, have to go to battle 6 times every year, right, against against those 3 teams with those 3 coaches and maybe now with those 3 quarterbacks. I don't know how comfortable you can be.
Well, not only do you play them 6 times a year, but that's who you have to finish ahead of,
right,
to go to the playoffs.
Right.
So it's not like you just beat them. You have to make sure that you do better overall in the season.
There is a good chance, a better than good chance, that the Raiders are going to go winless in their division. I would love to find out when the last time that ever happened. Because they've already done it to the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, were the team that they were supposed to be able to beat in their division, right? Yeah. Like, I think coming into the season, at least one of those, whether it was in Denver or here or wherever, coming into the season, that might have been the only game or the only 2 games that the Raiders were favored in.
With the Broncos?
Yeah, one of them.
They were favored in 2 games this year. I think one was home.
This game. Carolina.
Maybe Carolina at home, and I think maybe Jacksonville at home.
It's crazy to me that they wouldn't have been favored against the Broncos, but I stand corrected.
It was close.
But
it was close. It might have been like a 1 point favorite.
Okay. Well, they're already 0-2 against the Broncos, the team that they were supposed to be the most competitive against in their division, and now they got the Kansas City Chiefs coming up on Friday in 5 days, and if the Chiefs win, then they will have swept the season series, and the Chargers already beat them in the season opener, I think it was. Yeah, the season opener.
Finale.
And they'll be here at some point, probably playing for a seeding or whatever for the playoffs. So this is bad. Like, when you think about it from that perspective of going into those types of fights with this coach, and it's nothing personal against Antonio Pierce, but how confident can you be that he's going to be the guy that you're yearly going to be able to go contend with the coaches that we just talked about and the quarterbacks that we just talked about.
It's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle, no question about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you all are always pretty good at this. Who do you think is going to be the quarterback on Friday against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Carter Bradley?
Ooh, no, I think
no. I would think it would be. I would think it would be Desmond Ridder. I think it obviously all depends on Dayton O'Connell's health.
Right.
He's eligible to come back. We should, explain that part of it.
Yes.
Eligible to come back.
He missed the necessary 4 games.
Doesn't mean that he's back.
Right.
But he has been around. I've been seeing him hold the ball. Haven't really seen him throw it. I know Antonio Pierce said that he's been throwing a little bit. Hasn't really had anything on the thumb, so. I don't think he has a brace or anything now. So
he's been traveling with the team too.
So we will see. If he's healthy, I think you go to him. But it is a short week, so not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of practice time to get back out there and get the reps in.
And that's to me. I think it supersedes health. I think it's are you ready? Are you ready to go out there and compete? Are you ready to be your conditioning?
Well, health is first.
Health's
first, and then if you're healthy, are you ready to go through that and to again not have full week of practice reps? I think they're practicing once, maybe twice this week, but you don't really have that practice time because obviously it's a condensed short week. Usually you're off until Wednesday, then you practice. This week you're going to probably walk through tomorrow on Monday, maybe practice either Tuesday or Wednesday, potentially both, especially if you want to get O'Connell ready. I would imagine you'd practice both days, but there's not going to be a whole lot of time to ramp up and get ready to go play against the Chiefs on the road, which is not an easy thing to do.
Not at all. So I wouldn't say it's setting him up for any kind of failure, and he'll want to play. I mean, if he's capable, he's definitely going to want to play. But that remains to be seen, and it will be interesting to me if Daniel Jones is in that picture at all. Because if the Raiders are interested, if you're Daniel Jones, you're looking at, okay, this could be the team that I play with next year too. Like you said, like that's as clear. Like if you're going to go to a playoff team, which I get, go into a great organization and a great environment and learn from a great coach like Kyle Shanahan or whoever the case, Kevin O'Connell up in Minnesota, Mike McDaniel in Miami, Harbaugh in Baltimore. Those are some of the teams that we've heard about. But at the same time, you're like, well, it might be a pretty easy path to a starting job with the Raiders next year. If they're interested in me, why wouldn't you be interested in them from that perspective? But we'll see how that all plays out. We are going to hear from Maxx Crosby after yet another loss. Here's Maxx Crosby, the Raiders' defensive end.
If we're not playing to win, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? I don't play to get a better pick. That doesn't even register in my brain. You know what I mean? I go out there trying to win. I know these guys are trying to win. And we got great players in this locker room and guys that put everything into it. So we're just going to keep staying together and keep trying to find ways to win.
How do you guys continue to stay together through the losing streak, but you guys don't seem like there's any quit, like you mentioned, in you?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, you see us flying around. You know what I mean? We're playing our ass off. And there's nothing else you can do. You know what I mean? You train all year for this opportunity to go out there with 17 guaranteed games. So regardless if you won every game or lost every game, every day is a new opportunity to get better. And I feel like the guys in the locker room got the right mindset. You look in there, you walk in Monday, tomorrow in the morning, there'll be everybody in there working out. Tuesday, same thing. You know what I mean? So I never doubt the players and the mindset of everybody in that locker room. Guys show up every day with the mindset to get better. So that's all you can ask for. I love this team, and I love my teammates. You know what I mean? They're continuously working on improving their craft. And as a leader and as a guy that literally I live in the building, it's nothing cooler to see.
Well, we heard from Maxx Crosby. It's getting to be, for everybody here, kind of a broken record. When you lose 7 straight games and 9 of your first 11, that's just kind of how it is. How many more ways can you explain what's going on out there? It gets pretty redundant.
And like we said, a lot of the same problems with not able to run the ball, not able to finish in the red zone. They had a couple of nice plays in the running game.
Hey, Jacoby Myers, by the way.
Sincere McCormick in particular. Yeah. Jacoby Myers had a big game. All of those things, were true. But, again, another loss we should point out. Obviously, the special teams had a really, really good day.
Very good day.
And, it hasn't always been the case. I mean, A.J. Cole and Daniel Carlson have been very good. But coverage teams haven't always been great on both sides. But return game, they haven't generated much. They did today. Dylan Laube got a long
59 yards.
Did not get on the field for offense, but did get that return in the kicking game, and was able to talk to him a little bit afterwards, and he was pretty fired up just to kind of wipe out the memory
quite the fit
of
too.
what happened. And also
the pants
quick. I wrote about this. You can check it out. But I did like that. The outfit, it was good. Nice tracksuit. It was pretty good, but really fancy.
It was interesting
for sure. Little backstory on the fake punt that the Raiders ran. You can read about it in the Review Journal, of course. But Divine Diablo had an interception that did not count against Pittsburgh. Made a great play for those that remember watching that game. Kind of dove across the middle, came down with the catch. And Tom McMahon, special teams coach, who, by the way, was not here today. He was ill, so he was out. He went to Divine Diablo, who was on special teams, and said, I saw that. I know you can catch. Let's design a fake punt for you. They put it in. They've been practicing it every single week. They were just waiting for the opportunity. They got that opportunity today, ran the play, ran it to perfection. Everything flowed left. He went to the right. He did say he might have thought too much about the returner. Probably should have just ran, because then he started to think about faking out the returner, and they were able to pursue him from behind. A.J. Cole also kind of joked and said, took away my touchdown pass by not cutting back earlier and getting me that. But really, really nice play for the Raiders. And then Daniel Carlson made 4 field goals. As we said, the big return. Also, A.J. Cole pinned them inside the 10-yard line twice. So really good on special teams.
Let me tell you something about Adam. You know how some people get like their eyes light up when they see a nice T-bone steak or some great some kind of great food. Adam is a special teams aficionado, and so when he sees great special teams play or creative special teams play, an execution like we saw today with that fake punt, that's right up his alley.
Yeah.
So,
and I thought it was a cool backstory on how they saw him make that catch and realized he could catch. And by the way, Devon Diablo wanted to make sure, he told me for the story I was writing, you know what? I was recruited as a receiver. That's how I was recruited out of high school.
Put that
they
in.
brought me to
Put
college
that in your story, Adam.
as a receiver. So it's something he can do. We saw him do it today. And, some good efforts out there on
For
special
sure.
teams, I guess, if you're looking for positive silver linings from another loss.
and it gets redundant even for us to write about and talk about the losses. But I will say this: the Raiders play hard, and so for whatever that means, for whatever that's worth, I don't sense anybody quitting in the locker room. I think you could see by the effort that they put out, week after week. They've got that going for them. They're at a talent disadvantage to me at quarterback, and then injuries have piled up, and there's other issues and some tactical issues, I think, from the coaching staff and things of that nature. But they don't quit; they play hard. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and they're, like you said, another game with a chance to win at the end. It doesn't come through. I'm sure they're very frustrated that they can't finish these games, but again, in the long run, probably better for the future of the franchise.
That'll do it from Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders suffered their 7th straight loss, 29-19. They are now 2-9 in the season. They do have the 3rd pick if the draft were today. It's not. Who knows? There's not many winnable games left on this schedule. They could end up with the top pick in the draft. We'll see how that goes. I want to say thanks to Heidi Fang, our producer, who makes us sound good and get out on time. I want to say thanks to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports for being our great sponsors. I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, our readers, our subscribers. You're why we do this. Thank you so much. We'll be back at it sometime next week to preview the Kansas City Chiefs game on Friday. Remember, it's a short week. They play on Black Friday. And, of course, we'll be with you after the game on Friday to talk about everything that happens in Kansas City. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you at some point this week.